Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I like to discuss the extent to which Liz Truss will be able to stamp her authority on the Conservative Party. For all the bombast from Tory MPs and commentators, Truss is actually on very shaky ground. She'll be given time, of course, time that has effectively been extended with the death of the Queen, but if she struggles to win voters over, she will not be given the leeway that her predecessor was. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So last Tuesday was a less auspicious start than for Liz Truss as Prime Minister than she may have expected. On her first day in Parliament in the top job, it was announced that the pound had fallen to its lowest level against the dollar since the 1980s, when Thatcher tanked it by crushing British industry. Talked a bit more about that in the previous video. But for now, she is getting the support you would expect from her party and the Tories in the media. They genuinely want her to succeed because their fate is tied to hers. But they will be giving her an opportunity rather than expectations. If she doesn't turn the polls around and keep them turned around, she'll find that support draining away, I think. After all, what claim can she make to demand that support? She won the leadership contest, but it was not by a large margin. She also didn't get a lot of first choice votes in the parliamentary stage of the leadership contest. It was widely considered she probably shouldn't have even been on the final ballot. So on the results of that leadership contest, she's hardly the resounding choice for either Tory MPs or the wider membership. She's also not favoured by the voting public either, according to polls. Throughout the leadership contest this summer, she and her allies kept posting results of polls that suggested the public preferred her over Starmer. This is not what the credible pollsters were finding, and the more the public sees of Truss, the more ridiculous those dodgy polls are going to look. So three groups of people whose support she needs to be secure, and she hasn't won the confidence yet, if we're going to be charitable, of any of them. Then came her cabinet formation. It's very different to Boris Johnson's, absolutely, but it's still modelled on the same principles. That is to say, she's packed it with people who won't argue with each other or her. Two problems with this. First, if cabinet is largely of the same mind, at least those of them who have minds, then nobody will be pointing out the flaws in various plans. You've got no devil's advocate. Confirmation bias will lead them down the wrong path time and again, dismissing outside criticisms as politically motivated. Second, it means she is excluding large groups within the parliamentary party. If she fails to win over voters, and I think 2023 is going to be very tough for her, then she has no way of keeping concerned backbenchers in line. Normally, you put influential leaders of different factions into your cabinet, not only for a breadth of views, but also to help maintain party discipline. She has opted for a largely closed shop. This cabinet is further to the right than that of Boris Johnson. This means policies are likely to follow suit. This will not be popular with key voters, who are mostly grouped around the centre. This is basically the ERG cabinet. Their takeover is as complete as it's going to be. This will put it at odds with even her own MPs, never mind the public. Remember that although the ERG are a very influential group, they're not a large faction. They wield disproportionate influence because they're crazy. They've got no regard for the Tory party. They threaten to destabilise the work of government if they don't get what they want. This is what they did with Theresa May. It's what they tried to do with Boris Johnson. It's what they will absolutely do with Truss if she steps out of line. Truss has basically thrown her lot in with them, surrounding herself with a disproportionate number of their members. That could bite her on the arse later, because they will not permit her to go soft on Brexit. She could get herself trapped. If she tries to soften her stance, for example, on the Northern Ireland Protocol, they could threaten mass cabinet resignations. Fatal. It may well be that she thinks she can hold the EU hostage for concessions that will appease the ERG. Nothing will appease them, and she is likely to find herself staring down the barrel of a trade war if her protocol bill is somehow passed by the Lords. That would be fatal too. The fact that influential ERG member Steve Baker has accepted the position of a junior minister in the Northern Ireland office is telling. He refused to serve in Johnson's government because he said he wanted to be free to hold Johnson to account over his Brexit promises. The fact that he has taken this job means that he is confident that Truss is going to do what he wants. And that he will be working in the Northern Ireland office is ominous. Out of all of Truss's appointments, this is the appointment that concerns me most. It's not even a cabinet position. You know, this is why I think, and I've said before, she's hoping the Lords will block her bill or at least massively water it down. She can then blame others for not being able to implement her policy. But maybe she isn't. Maybe I'm giving her too much credit. Maybe she's going to make a monumental cock-up next year that even cynical old me wasn't seriously contemplating. Make no mistake, Tory MPs all had to stand on the hard Brexit bandwagon, but there are plenty who do not want the protocol to be trashed. Yes, they voted for the bill to allow for it to be trashed, but that was largely on the basis that it can be used as a negotiating chip, not to be used. They will not support Truss if she lands them with a trade war they cannot win. Then there was her acceptance speech as the leadership result was announced last week. At one point, she praised Boris Johnson. Then she paused. She was expecting applause. What she got was embarrassed silence. After a moment, the audience sort of twigged and applauded. These were Tories. This was an audience of Tories. She couldn't even get Tories to clap on cue without making it look awkward. And this is what she's going to be like. They got another taste of it right there. She'll say things, she'll expect a particular response, but without any plan to get said expected response. It's her pork market speech all over again. She will get rapturous applause. What she will get is befuddled silence. Then her first PMQs. Right-wing commentators and MPs raving about her performance. Her performance was crap and they knew it. But that doesn't matter. They're just trying to browbeat the public into thinking she's a competent performer. It's fine, okay, that's what you do. But she's neither competent nor confident. She announced her energy plan in Parliament last Thursday. But it was not in the form of a ministerial statement, as would be normal. Because for a ministerial statement, you have to give MPs an advance copy of the plan so that they can peruse it the day before. And then you take questions on it in Parliament. And why didn't she do that? I mean, if it's a good plan, why shouldn't elected MPs ask questions about it? But Truss didn't do that. She presented her uncosted, bare bones plan with no advance copy to give an MPs and did not take questions. Didn't stop Starmer and others tearing it apart, mind you. Coupled with the fact that she would not tell either Ian Blackford or Keir Starmer who would be paying for her plan in PMQs the day before, you might conclude that she'd only been Prime Minister for a couple of days and was already in hiding. Of course, now she does have a hiding place. Parliament's doing nothing this week. It'll be back for, I think, a couple of days next week just to be able to get through her energy plan without serious scrutiny before buggering off on recess again for the conference season. Truss has been given a much longer honeymoon period than she was expecting. It'll now be what? 5 weeks? Another 5 weeks, I think, before she faces any serious scrutiny in Parliament. So they were off for 6 weeks for summer. They came back basically as it happened unexpectedly for a few days and then it's off again. Not back till mid-October. But it is just a bit of respite for her. It's nothing more. Doesn't matter what she manages to dodge in the next few months. The public would have given her leeway anyway. It's next year she needs to get ready for. That's going to be the acid test. I don't think her support's going to drain away in the remainder of this year. But she doesn't have natural support. You know, she doesn't have one in her parliamentary party. She doesn't have a natural support base. She doesn't have one in the wider party. She doesn't have one in the public. She's facing more urgent crises than any new Prime Minister in my lifetime. So she'll have the public paying close attention. When there's desperate need for strong leadership, she's already hiding from a Parliament which, remember, consists of a large majority of her own MPs. She's also packed her cabinet with privately educated spivs who have no experience of the travails of ordinary workers and never will. 3/4 of her cabinet, 3/4 were privately educated. Another 1/10 of them were grammar school educated. Only a 1/6 of them had state comprehensive education. They talk about diversity a lot. It is hard to imagine a cabinet more out of touch with the people. Or it would be if this wasn't just another version of such a beast. It's not easy to see how she's going to have the strength of character to become the Iron Lady Mark II. What happens if, as I expect, winter rumbles on, she starts to suffer a public backlash? When she needs the support of MPs, what then? Tory MPs eventually tired of having to go out and defend Johnson from the indefensible. But they did do it for quite a long time before they believed, they believed that he won them their seats and would do it again. So they let themselves look like idiots for him for a while. It eventually tied. As soon as they realised he was no longer going to win them those seats, that's when they turned. What happens when Truss wants MPs to defend her unpopular policies to their constituents? What if she fails to avert a winter of discontent? Even kicking the energy crisis down the road a bit longer. What about the rest of the crises? What about the strikes? The problem with health and social care? I don't want to make predictions because Tories backed Johnson for much longer than I thought they would. But will Truss really be able to gain the confidence of the public or even her MPs? Someone who has shied away from questions from MPs on a vital policy? I don't think so. Johnson gained his authority by winning a large majority in the general election. Truss can't afford to wait that long. Her support will drain away long before the next general election. She can't afford to have a quick general election either to try the same trick because she will lose. I mean, if she'd like to try, far be it from me to argue against it. So what can Truss actually do to give her that authority? I can't actually think of anything. She has the support of her party right now because they must. But if she can't rescue their poll rating, the support will melt away because she doesn't have the authority to keep it shackled to her in the bad times, because it's in the bad times that you need the authority. You don't need authority when people are happy to go along with what you do and say in good times, do you? Because people are happy to do it. You don't need to order them because they're happy to do it. You're just suggesting it. You need authority when times are tough, and you need everyone to act as one, act as a team. You know, when they don't have that much confidence they're going to get through it, you need to be able to still get them working as a team. She doesn't have that authority, and I don't see how she's going to get it. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button. If you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships. And until next time, I'll see you later.